license if anybody's working on that. It only took them 3 weeks to send it in the mail. So I wouldn't hold your breath if anybody's working on their mass license. Yeah, give me one. Let me see, Walter. I need a host capability.
I'll make you a host. Yeah, you got it. You are now a co-host. And so we were talking about debts, pay your debts, right? Creative financing, it all comes from being able to leverage your credit score. There are some creative financing like seller financing, like we talked about last week. The week before was seller financing. Last week, no, 3 weeks ago was seller financing. The week before was subject to existing mortgages. And then last week was wraparound mortgages. Today, we're going to talk about how to evaluate a deal. And the reason we evaluate deals properly is so that we can get them at a discount that a bank will lend us all the money. Who here has heard of asset-based lending? I know we had a speaker at Boston RIA a few weeks ago. He was talking heavily about asset-based lending. That's what we use on our purchases. And so I think it makes a lot of sense to teach how to evaluate property so it works. We agree? Because it's all about the deal in asset-based lending. Awesome. Brett Reed, take it away.
Really quickly, before we jump in, I was talking to a lender recently, and they have a flip product that seemed kind of interesting. By a show of hands, where's my flippers, and who wants that lender to come on and share with us what that product is? I think we've got enough folks, so we'll get Luke on here pretty soon. Don't know exactly when, but we'll get him on so he can explain that product, and we can try to incorporate another aspect of flipping into that training. So like I said, we're going to talk about analyzing a property. I'm going to share with you what I do to do it quickly, because obviously we're going to be looking through, hopefully everybody's looking through a lot of properties, trying to find stuff to, analyze as, as practice. And then obviously when you're starting to make offers. So when you're looking through properties quickly, you got to be able to identify pretty quickly whether or not it's worth diving into. So you got to have a quick analysis that you can run really quickly, see if it's worth it to put time into it. So I'm going to go into that. There's a couple rules out there. I'm sure some of you have heard of them, but I'm going to explain them in case anybody has any questions on those. We can dive into those. And then towards the end, we'll talk about the rental calculators. There's a couple online resources that exist. So we'll run, I found a property today to run through there. So we'll go through that and see what that looks like and how to utilize those tools. So these are the more common rules, I think, depending on who you talk to, there might be other rules that exist, but these are the ones you'll come across most frequently. So the 1% rule and the 2% rule are kind of the same, or you can use them in the same fashion. So basically, you want the rent amount, the monthly rent amount from all the units to fall between 1 and 2% of the purchase price. So if your purchase price is a round number, let's say 100,000, and the rents are 1,000 per month, then that might be something that's worth looking into. And then I've heard a few people too will say, if it meets the 2% rule, it's got to be a good deal. You should go out and buy it. But with that being said, I want to stress that these rules are for quick analysis. And if you find that a property meets these rules, that's not enough. You got to dive in a little bit further. Really, try to break out as many numbers on their costs as you can, and don't rely on the 1 or 2% rule or the 50% rule. Just use them as tools to see if something's worth diving into. Unless
you're William Hung, in which case you are not allowed to over-evaluate. You just close on the deal. Give Will a round of applause. He and I did our one-on-one session today. Awesome conversation, Will.
Does everybody understand the 1 and 2% rule? Does anybody have any questions on that? Pretty straightforward. So the 50% rule, move on, is a little bit different. So you're going to take the monthly rents and divide that by 2. And the rule of thumb there is that's going to be equal to your operating expenses. So you're still going to want to rule out or subtract out your monthly debt service too. So take, again, if it's $1,000 a month in rents, take out 50%. So you're left with 500. Within that 500, you need, within that $500, you need to get your cash flow, you need to get your debt service, and then maybe you want to throw in some reserves too as well. Make sense? Everybody following?
And 50% rule, we use this heavily, especially when you get towards commercial. I just show me the NOI. Like that 50% rule guaranteed. If you show me the rent roll, I can pretty much guess the NOI is at 50%.
Yeah, that one usually works out to be at least pretty close, right?
Very close, very often.
Yeah, it's a great screening criteria I do all the time when I'm showing properties and talking through with potential buyers is I'll run the 50% rule right on my calculator on my phone and say, hey, listing cash flows, around this conservatively.
And trying to beat the 50% rule is just so hard. It's so hard to do it. Awesome.
All right. So lastly, and this is the first two would be more for a cash flowing rental property. The last one, 70% rule, it's more for flippers. So basically for the 70% rule, if you're looking at a flip, you take the ARV and you multiply it by 0.7. So 70% of that amount is probably going to be the max that you're going to want to offer on that property. And if you want to be extra cautious, you can take out, the cost of the flip as well. And I think, Walter, the last time we chatted about this, I think you were looking more at like a 65% rule to be a little bit more conservative.
Yeah. And that's just because we're here at the height of the market, and I'd rather see you save that 5% just in case. And look, if the market keeps going up, you've won 5% extra on your flip. If the market does go down, that could be the buffer that helps you sell it fast and get it off the market.
Bingo. So.
Awesome. Valuable so far. I was getting a little value from Brett right now. Awesome. Carry on, Brett.
So this is what I do, and maybe Walter, you have something like this if you want to elaborate on what you do. But really quickly, if I look at a property, I definitely will really quickly look at and think about the 1% rule. If it's above that, this is what I'm going to do. This is like an intermediate step. But again, it's really quick. It's not precise, and it might not make sense for every single property, but this is what I do. So I take the monthly rent, subtract out the operating expenses plus the monthly debt service. So I factor in 15% for management and vacancy, another 15% for repairs, maintenance, and CapEx. What I actually do is I take 30% off the top. But for here, and the reason is this is how I break it out, but I wanted to separate them into 15 and 15 so that you guys can understand where I came up with that 30%. Then I take out water, sewer, and I'll take out utilities. I definitely recommend buying something with separate utilities so that you're not paying for your tenants' utilities. But if it's something where you have to include either common area utilities, or if you're paying, heat and hot water, let's say, for your tenants, you want to add that in there as well. And I want to share a quick story on why we don't want utilities to be included. A portfolio that I work for, we do, is leasing an apartment, and we went over to a unit. It was like, I don't know, it was like 20 degrees out, 25 degrees out. The apartment had, if I remember correctly, 3 windows, all of them wide open. And then we went into the unit. Heat is all the way up. So they wanted their fresh air, but they didn't want it to be freezing cold. So they jacked up the heat, opened up the windows, and I could just hear cash just flowing out the window. So.
I have owned those buildings. I have walked through those buildings, and I no longer own anything that I pay the heat on. Give Brett Reed a round of applause for having been through that experience. I like the way you're evaluating these, Brett. Absolutely, these are great tools for evaluation.
Yeah, and something that has utilities included, if it's a something you're looking at, it seems like a really good deal. just try to think about what it would cost and if it's feasible to separate the utilities. Maybe you can turn it into an even better deal by increasing the NOI by putting in a little capital. You can do, if it has separate electric, you could do electric baseboard is becoming a little bit more popular. You can do mini splits. So it doesn't have to be as labor intensive as throwing in like forced air systems, which can be a little bit more costly. And down at the bottom of this analysis, you're going to come up with monthly cash flow after all your expenses. And my goal is $100 to $200 per month per unit. That fluctuates greatly depending on your location. But from what I've found, the best deals are in that range. If you're in a similar market to mine and you start to go over 200, I always start to like my spidey senses go off. Like, how could this be such a good deal? And usually
bad neighborhood.
There's a reason why.
Bad neighborhood. That's why.
Exactly. Or it's about to fall down or something like that.
Yeah.
Darina,
I see your hand.
Oh, Darina, what's up?
Hi, just quick question. In the relationship with a 50% rule, the previous slide show basically the 50% rule plus the debt services. Is that the
So
right
the 50% rule is including the debt service. The debt service is on top of it. So that 50% that you have left, you have to pay the debt service with that, and the rest is your cash flow.
Okay, so 30% plus water plus utilities.
That's part of the 50% rule.
That's kind of like a 50% rule, plus we have to subtract the debt services.
Correct.
Thank you.
Good question.
I hope everybody,
Good statement, because I know you know the answer.
Well, I hope some people had that question in mind and didn't ask it, so it can help.
Absolutely. Yeah, just to be clear, this is what I do. The 50% rule is more of like a generally accepted rule of thumb. But I wanted to explain kind of what I do, and everything, whether it's today or the last couple of weeks or going forward, everything that we teach is going to need to be adapted to your situation, the properties that you're looking at, your location. So always keep that in mind too. I'd be flattered if you used my system, but I would be, I think it'd be a lot better for you to come up with your own way of doing this in the best way that fits the projects that you're looking at. So you get to a point where, you use one of the rules and okay, this looks like a good deal. And then you run maybe a little bit more further analysis and you say, okay, this looks like something I want to dive into. And you actually put a little bit of time into it. So a couple of things that you're going to want to do. First, tour the property if you can. Before you tour the property, get a P&L and a rent roll from the listing agent or the owner, whoever you're dealing with. And when I was putting this PowerPoint together, I was thinking it might be helpful to do a training on reading P&Ls and rent rolls. Is anybody interested in that? Maybe we could do that in the next couple of months. Awesome. It's super important, especially, I know Andrew's on here and a couple other agents. So it's super important as an agent to be able to read a P&L. And I'm going to tell you a story why. So I was selling a property, a 4-unit, and there was one heating system. So the owner pays for the heat. So somebody comes to see the property, then they put in an offer and we're negotiating. And basically they say, okay, we'll take your counter offer, but the family wants to come in and see the property again. Well, after spending like 45 minutes going through the property, mid-COVID, they brought, I think, 10 people through the property, which the tenants were not thrilled about. So she finally says they like the property, but they don't want it because there's only one heating system. They don't want to have to pay for the heat. I sent that agent the P&L, and clearly there was, I want to say like $5,000 or $6,000 in a gas expense. So if she had the knowledge to be able to read the P&L and explain that to her buyer, we wouldn't have had to go through that huge exercise, and we wouldn't have had to waste so much time. So definitely, start reading some P&Ls. If you've never seen a P&L, shoot me an email. I'll send you one over so you can start to look at it and I can answer any questions you have. I'll go more into that when we do the actual training. So again, once you're taking those next steps to start to dive into a property, it's really helpful to use a calculator just to make sure you don't forget anything. So BP has a really good calculator. And then I wanted to take you guys through the Scaredy Cat guide. So Mitch Jaworski is one of the members of the Alchemist tribe, has one on his website. I personally prefer it over BP, but you know, you guys are welcome to make that determination on your own. So I had a property in mind, and let me just switch over to that screen so we can run through it and see if anybody has any questions on how to use it.
Awesome. I see Ryan McDermott's on the call. Let's give our favorite financial advisor a round of applause.
Hey, everyone.
What do you think so far, Ryan? You going to start evaluating properties the way Brett does?
I'm recording. Well, I know you're recording this, so I'm going to come back and watch it and do my next one, just the way that he does it.
I like it.
So everybody can see the property calculator now? Sweet. So this is a property that came across my desk today in Providence. It's another one of my agents in my office is selling it. So figured we'd run through this one to kind of see how the calculator works and play with it a little bit. So the sale price, he's asking $325. Maybe he'll take less, but I just threw in the asking price to see if it makes sense at that number. So this will spit out your down payment for you at 20%, and you set the percentage down. I threw in 20K as you know, some expected repairs. He said it did need a couple of things. So your total investment is going to be $85K. Loan amount $260 at 5% interest, amortized over 30 years. It'll spit out $1395 for the payment. And then it gets into the revenue. So the rents for that property, it's 4 units, $875 is the average rent. Total rent 42. Calculate 5% vacancy. What do you use for vacancy when you're looking at a property, Walter?
Depends on the area. Typically across the nation it's 5 to 7%, but if it's a depressed area, it could be 10, it could be 15. It really depends on where you're at. I think in Rhode Island, 7% is probably fair. 5 is fine.
Yeah, awesome. So a couple of portfolios that I do leasing for in Rhode Island, they both fall into that 5 to 7%, like Walter said.
If Brett Reed is your leasing agent, then you're probably that 5%. Maybe you go down to 3%.
Exactly. I didn't have the exact taxes on this one. I didn't look it up, but I just threw 4,500 in there because I think it'll be somewhere near that. I'm pretty confident I could get insurance around 1,500 for the year. And then you're going to want to factor in management. So a good round number is 10%. Talk to whoever you're thinking about using as a property manager. And on that note, whether you're self-managed, I self-manage right now, but if I'm looking at a property, I'm still going to factor in management because eventually I'm going to hire a property manager. So I got to make sure that that property is going to cash flow even when I'm done self-managing. So again, around 10% is going to be a fair number, but talk to some property managers in your area and see what's common. I've heard anywhere from 8 to 12%, and you can also play around with it. If you don't need full service, you can do just facilities, something like that. I know they do that at Peregrine. You can just hire them to do the facilities, and the financials you would do on your own. So maybe your cost will be a little bit less. So for utilities, I threw in water and sewer. My data that I have is around 75 per unit. It's between 50 and 75 per unit per month for water and sewer combined. So I use 300 for this one as the monthly cost. Then reserves, you know, something to play around with if you're buying a new construction for some reason. Maybe your reserves could be a little bit less. If you're buying a property that's, you know, totally outdated, the roof is on its way out, the heating system's super old, maybe you want to bump that up to closer to 10%, just to be safe. So that's something you can play around with and move up and down depending on the property. You look like you want to say something, Walter. Do you have a comment?
No, that's exactly right. I just got an opportunity to jump on a call tomorrow with the National Real Estate Investors Association, so I got excited. Sorry, Brett.
Give Walter a round of applause.
I'll take it. Awesome.
All right. So now, once you put all that information in, now it'll spit out all your numbers. So I just want to explain these real quickly. So operating expenses, 18,900. That is for anybody who doesn't understand that term, basically the expenses associated with everyday operation. It's not going to count debt service. That would be included separately. So the net operating income is 23,000, which works out to be 45% of the total income, pretty close to 50%. Then we've got debt service factored in, DSCR, debt service coverage ratio. Next, it'll spit out the cash flow for you. That's annual cash flow, 6351. This property is trading at a 7 cap, and the cash on cash return is 7.47%. That's not too bad. Based on, monthly cash flow is 529. So if we're looking for $100 to $200 a month in cash flow, this fits right in. It's 4 units. So it's a little over 100 per month in cash flow, right in that sweet spot. Any questions on that calculator? I think I put the link for that. The link is in the PowerPoint. Yes, Darina?
We had a quick question in the chat box about how do you calculate the vacancy rate?
Okay.
Do you just Google it, talk to other landlords, or what else do you do to determine that?
Walter? Oh.
So for vacancy rate, you really do have to ask other investors. It's important to know people in the area. I don't invest in a place that I don't have resources. So as valuable as real estate agents are, there's no substitute for true real estate investors. An agent who is an investor, I think, is a good opportunity, but unless you've got somebody who really is just, and then bigger pockets too, like they've got to know vacancy rate. So if you're talking to an old landlord, they may not know the numbers. You have to calculate it yourself. So 2 resources. One, the real estate agent. You can ask them what their vacancy rate is. And if they're an investor, then you'll get a good answer. 2, bigger pockets. Just type into your area, and like we just did on the previous call, type into your local area, ask them questions, or type it into bigger pockets right in the forums and say, hey, what is the vacancy rate in this city? And somebody will answer. It helps. Like that's something you either know from experience or from somebody who has experience. Great question, Darina. Let's give Darina a round of applause. Love the questions.
Jumping back into that PowerPoint. Okay, so I dislike Zillow for many reasons, but they do have a really good mortgage calculator. So if you're wondering, you can't always go to your lender and say, what's the mortgage on this? Use an online calculator. My favorite is Zillow, specifically because you can add in PMI. So if you Google Zillow mortgage calculator, it'll come up. That's the one I would use personally. What do we got next? I dropped it in the chat, but here's the link to Mitch's rental property calculator. And then if you are a plus, or I forget the categories, plus and pro, I think on bigger pockets, you can use their calculators as well. If you have a regular account, it doesn't let you, or it limits you, one of the two. Who's not on bigger pockets? I think most people would be. Who's not? Anybody?
I'd be afraid to admit it.
Good. That is good. It's one of the best resources out there, so definitely utilize it. Set up your keyword alerts for sure. Actually, through setting up my keyword alerts on the forums, that's how I got my first real estate deal, first transaction. So it's something that would be a great tool for all of us. Lastly, I had this question back in the day. I'm saying that like it was 20 years ago. It was
Way back in the
years ago.
day.
When I was buying my first property, I had the question that I actually threw into the Bigger Pockets forums was, if I'm house hacking, do I run the numbers, looking at it if I'm living there, or do I run the numbers as a regular investor putting down 20%? And so the answer I got, which I really liked, and what I put in my book and believe in, is look at it from both ways, because house hacking is a great way to start investing. But if you look at the cash flow when you're living in one of the units, it doesn't always look that great. Might be negative, might be break even. So if you get hung up on that, which is kind of where I was at that point, it's not always going to look like a great deal. So look at it if you run it with, bought it with 20% down, 25% down, and you weren't living in one of the units, and compare both. So you'll know how it looks when you're living there, and you also know when you move out the potential cash flow that you could generate from it. So I wrote a book, short ebook on house hacking. So if anybody is interested in that, just shoot me an email. I'll send you the electronic copy. And I think that was it.
Let's give Brett Reed a round of applause. Phenomenal job, Brett. And if there are questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to take over the screen just for a second, because I also have a rental property calculator for the multifamily side. Who knows that I created a calculator on gualtermerillo.com, and I have been testing it, and I know that the mobile app version sucked. That was last week. This week, I went and I chewed the developer's ear off. And so, well, I was actually very nice. And now the calculator works. And not only does it work, it calculates the commas, because I was putting really big numbers in there and the comma wasn't showing up and I was getting lost. There's a lot of zeros. Investors know what I'm talking about. Multifamily guys, gals. Hell yeah. My multifamily ladies. All right, let's shift over here. So you go to gualtermerillo.com. You go to tools, or actually now you can just scroll right down and go to rental property calculator right here. Hit that bad Larry. This is not for evaluating whether something's a good deal or not. This is for getting a price to put in the offer for. Does that make sense? This is only going to spit out the offer price. So it's a little different from other calculators, and this is more for multifamily. It only works with the numbers that Brett was giving you on the multifamily side. NOI, knowing the income statement, the expenses. So let's dive in. Typical 3-family. Brett, what would you say the rents are? Oh, I want you in this because you're the man.
Where are we talking?
Let's you got a 3-family, right? You have a 3-family?
I have two families.
Two families. So let's do one of your 2 families.
Okay.
What are the rents?
The rents are $1,250 and $1,275.
Who does 75s, bro? Why has it got to be complicated, man?
There's a pet fee on there.
Oh, well, okay. That's illegal in Mass. So God bless you over in Rhode Island.
You can't, in Rhode Island, you can't charge a pet deposit, but you can charge a pet fee. And in Mass, you can't charge a pet fee?
That is correct.
I thought you could.
I cannot. Well, it could be the deposit. Okay, Dorena knows. Yeah.
No, you can't. You can increase your rent, like just assuming everyone who comes in is going to have a pet. So that's how you get your extra cash. But you cannot put it on an application or anywhere else. I mean, nobody's going to catch you.
We just put pets welcome when we have the desire to put a pet, and they were like, "Well, jack up the price, pets welcome, come on in." But no extra fees to it. Not a Mass anyway. In Rhode Island, you can do it as long as it's not a deposit, like you were saying. All right, so we came up with 1525. It was harder math than I expected. I thought it was going to throw straight numbers at me. So 1525, 5% vacancy, like we were talking about. What would you say your expenses are each month? Oh, actually, I got to do annual because multifamily goes by annual. Brett, if you were to guess, what were your expenses on that property?
Are we doing percentage-wise or an actual figure?
Either way, you can give me those and I'll figure it out.
So for example, 2020 as a total, I think the expenses were around 3,000 for the year, if I remember correctly.
3,000.
Yeah, I had to turn a unit.
There's no way.
For
real?
I had to turn a unit, yeah, and the washing machine went. So
3,000 for the whole year, though?
oh, you're talking about all expenses?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You want a 50% rule it? We'll just go with 9 grand?
Yeah.
All right. 50% rule. It works. Annual change in rent, let's assume 3%. Annual change in expenses, we'll assume they wash out. Although last year my rents went up 10%. Brett, what was your experience last year?
Yeah, right about 10%.
Yeah, and I'm expecting 10% this year too. Thank you, Uncle Sam, for inflation, Uncle Trump, and future presidents for all that inflation they're pumping in. Loan to value, let's assume a 25% down. I know my portfolio, I only own 60%, but let's say we're putting in, they're going to buy it with a 75% LTV. Stated annual interest rate, we'll say it's 5% right now, even though I know it can be lower. Terms, 30-year mortgage, percent of price and improvements, we'll assume 85%. That is standard in the industry. CPI, this ranges on customer price index. It typically, right now, I looked it up the other day, it's 2.9%. So we're going to run 3%. I mean, we can put 2.9 in there, it's fine. But that is what the index is saying. After-tax real discount rate typically is 8%. These are numbers most investors don't pay attention to, but you do have to know what your after-tax real discount rate is. Typically, it's 8%. Cap rate assumed on the sale. Write this down, real estate lesson. We buy at a 10, we sell at a 6. We buy at a 10 cap, we sell at a 6 cap. Does that make sense? Hands to the camera if you understand it, or at least you heard the words. Everybody heard the words. All right. We'll explain it later, but you buy at a 10, sell at a 6. Obviously, if you can buy at a 14, it's a no-brainer. We don't even have to have the conversation. We don't even have to do the math. If it's at a 14, we're ready to close. Awesome. All right. So cap rate, we're going to assume the sale date is a 6. Transaction costs we'll assume is 5%. Actually, no, we're going to assume 6 because that is what it costs to sell a property in Rhode Island. And the cap rate at purchase, so we're going to assume is a 10. Actually, you know what? In transaction costs, you do have to add that the lender is getting you on the purchase side. So on the purchase side, they're taking 2%. On the sale side, you're selling the house, you're selling at 6%. So it's probably an 8% transaction fee. Everybody understands these numbers, right? These are simple enough. They're not on most calculators because these are multifamily calculators. Recovery period in years, even though it says 39 there, 27 and a half is your recovery period. Income tax rate, you can assume a 15% income tax rate, and capital gains rate depends on where you live, but the nationwide could be 5. So you're talking about a 20% rate when you sell. For us in Massachusetts, I think our capital gains is what, 6%, Dorina? 5%, 6%? Is it?
It's 6, I thought.
Yeah, well, there you go. Taxachusetts. And it will calculate. Those 3 dots mean it's thinking. This right here is your property valuation. So based on the numbers, Brett, not a great deal. Now, what did you pay for it? Did you pay around that 380 mark? A little more? Under? Less? I can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry. So for the annual gross rents, it's 30,300.
30,300.
So that's for both units.
Awesome. Good job. Awesome. So we'll just move this to 15. And if I missed something, I'll notice. Yeah, so I definitely missed something in this. 5% vacancy is correct. Operational expenses 15, that makes sense. Annual change in rent.
Hey, Walter.
Yeah, man. What do you
Hey,
want him to solve?
from the beginning, from adding them up, you put 15.25 when it's supposed to be 25.25.
15, 25, 25, 25. Where's that at? Oh, yeah,
From
yeah.
the
Correct. You're right. Yep. And that's where Brett came up with that number. Loan term, 35% state interest rate. Loan to value, 75%. Annual cap rate purchase, 10. Move this to 6. It still won't, that won't have the effect. All right, so the calculator needs some work. And when I figure it out, I'll make sure that you guys get updated with it. Nope, it's still not working the right way as that's supposed to. Well, so the developer is back in the running for fixing this calc. Hang tight. We'll make sure that it is, I think he's got these reversed. I think that's what's happening here. Yeah, that is definitely wrong. Well, it was a nice idea. We'll come back to that later. The point is, for NOI, in order for you to buy something at a, we'll say a 10% cap, right? The 10% cap rate is, if like we were just talking about $15,000 a year, so the purchase price on that would be around 150, right? The cap rate should have come, that purchase valuation should have come out around 150 because his NOI is $15,000, right? Just a little over $15,000. Brad, what'd you pay for that building? No, you're muted.
227.
227.
Yeah.
So two families are really tough to hit. Multifamily investors know why we don't buy twos, right? It's really tough to hit the numbers on a two family, but a 3 starts getting better, a 4 starts getting better. At the 6s, at the 10s, the 12s, you can really start hitting those really strong numbers because the unit purchase value goes down. On two families, it's almost like buying 2 single families. It's very, very close. Whereas on a 3 family, a 4 family, the prices were almost the same as what he paid for his 2 family. Right. In fact, I bought many a building. I bought a 6 family for the price that he paid for his 2 family. So but of course my rents are not as high as yours, Brett. So you're getting good rents. Give Brett Reed a round of applause. He owns 2 families and he's just getting started. Was this valuable so far, even with a broken calculator? A real estate investor can recognize the numbers are broken right away. Does that make sense? Like as soon as you see it, you're like, oh, hold on, no, like this isn't right. So let me fix that tool up for you. The Scaredy Cat Guide calculator is a phenomenal resource for checking your properties. That one's been tested, improved. It works really well. And when it comes to finding a property for you to invest in, you've got to do the numbers. You got to do the numbers once, do the numbers twice, right? Like we just double checked. But at the end of the day, after you've done it the 3rd time, it's time to make a decision, right? Like I was talking about with Will earlier, analysis paralysis will kill you. As an investor, you got to be putting offers in every single week. If you're not putting an offer in this week, you're not on the buy, right? You can't tell people you're buying real estate, right? If you haven't put an offer in this week, you're just somebody hanging on the sidelines. When Ron and I decide we're going to buy, we hunt. And everybody knows I'm in Tampa to buy property. Not yet. You'll know when I'm buying property because you'll see my videos of me at property. You'll know I'm buying property because I'm out there putting offers in. I'm talking about putting offers in. Right now, I'm finishing books. I'm writing a book. I'm finishing some stuff on the website. Obviously, I got a calculator to work on, and I'm doing some projects, right? But after this, you'll see me in March. You'll know I'm hunting for property. Does that make sense? Because every week there'll be offers put in. Every week there'll be phone calls made. Every week you'll see me on property. So if you're not on property looking at stuff right now, you're not really buying. You're just lying to yourself. Does that make sense? My investors who've closed on deals know what I'm talking about, right? You made a decision and within a week or 2, you had something under agreement. The decision was made, the hunt started, and you were locking things down. That's how this works. So if you're looking to buy real estate right now, evaluate the calculators on deals that are on MLS. Go and practice so that when the decision comes up and the deal is right, you can move on it quickly because successful people take action and unsuccessful people evaluate and evaluate and evaluate and evaluate. And I don't mean that like they can't be successful. but that evaluate and evaluate and evaluate is stopping your success. Does that make sense? Analysis paralysis is more dangerous than getting into a bad deal. I'd rather see you get into a bad deal, learn a lesson, get out, so you can double down on a better deal next time. But analysis paralysis will stop you from ever doing a good deal. Like you can't get all the numbers right. You can't figure it all out before you close. There's going to be stuff that's going to like come up afterwards. That's going to be opportunities for you to make more money. There's going to be stuff that comes up afterwards that, you know, maybe hurts a little bit. I've had deals where I bought a condemned building and I know it was condemned, and the government came in and was like, no, sorry. All those tenants you put in there, you got to go put them in other housing until this cease and desist order is handled. And I've paid for people to be in hotels. I've paid for people to be in other units that thankfully I had vacant at the time. And I've paid that extra $20,000 to go in there and renovate stuff that I should not have had to pay. Does that make sense? Sometimes deals go sideways. It sucks. Do enough deals. Do bigger deals. Do better deals. I got one right now where we made $150,000 profit on it. Turns out after we sold it, we're getting sued for not putting us a sprinkler system in. Cool. We lawyered up. We went and we sued the city for delaying us and not allowing us to go and do what we do. And so in the end, we got to spend about $20,000 to make sure everything works out. Thank God we have other deals to cover that. Does that make sense? Stay in the game long enough, you'll do okay. If you get knocked out early on, I was talking to an investor today, and he was Pultz was his last name. I think Jason Pultz, and that's not it. Todd Pultz. And so Todd is an investor out in Dayton, Ohio. Who watched the episode today? I was on Alchemist Nation podcast. All right. So Todd, we were talking about his his first deal, his 4-family brick building. And I asked him the question. I was like, if that deal wasn't such a slam dunk, do you think you would have stayed in it? And his honest question is he really doesn't know, but probably not. You know, maybe because he was dedicated, but if that wasn't such a good slam dunk, maybe not. And I feel the same way about my first deal. I went in, I was a killer deal, and I got very, very lucky. And if I didn't get such a great deal on my first one, I don't know if I would have done another one. So it's really important that you surround yourself with a community that's doing deals and you get around doing the right deals. And if you make a mistake in the first one, just recognize you made a mistake. That's not real estate. It's just you. And if you stay in it long enough, you can double down and fix that mistake and get into something really good. So if you make a mistake in the first one, do it fast then. Like get into it fast so that you can go into something bigger and better right after that to cover for the mistake. And it's almost good. The mistakes are almost good for you because after that, like there's nothing that's going to solve that problem other than a bigger deal. Remember I talked about on the last call, something about being in debt, $150,000? There was no real estate agency going to dig me out of $150,000 in credit card debt. I would have had to go and do like 200 transactions because I got to pay taxes on that money. So if I go and earn 150 to pay it off, I still got to go pay another 150 in taxes. So I got to earn 300,000 to pay that off, right? Real estate agency wasn't going to do it. Whereas real estate investing, that's how I closed that out. That's how I cleaned up my year. Does that make sense? So sometimes those bad deals, those bad things in your life that caused the credit card debt, that divorce, or that bad deal that went down, that went sideways, could be what launches you into millionaire status faster than anything else. My millionaires know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we had our bumps and bruises along the way. Let's give my fellow millionaires a round of applause. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. It is so valuable to have you in the community, teaching other people, giving back. This is a mission. Alchemist Nation is a community. We're here to help other people get wealthier. 100 Millionaires is a strategy for you to become even richer yourself. If you want to become a millionaire, surround yourself with millionaires. If you want to become a millionaire faster, help other people become millionaires because they will pay you to go and do the things that it takes to get there. Does that make sense? Awesome. Questions? We got a few minutes left, and then Melanie's got to go and gamble. She's got to go out to dinner and have some fun with her friends. What questions do we have? This is your chance. Matt, you have a question?
Well, it's not related to this. We were talking about the credit earlier. So,
yeah, credit. What's the question?
Well, I was saying that I'd gotten my credit rating way up, but it hasn't really improved anything for me. So I got my credit rating up 240 points over what it was, which I'm proud of. But I've done some looked into pre-approvals, and the only things I get offered are the crappiest of loans. Like, I look at it and it just offends me. I wish I could just. I mean, and there's nobody to talk to. There's nobody to yell at. There's nobody to work things out with. If you call Experian, it just tells you to go to their website. I can fill in stuff and dispute claims and inaccurate information, which was among the things I did. But now that I'm where I'm at, I'm not seeing the results of it at all. So, I mean, that's why one of the desirable things here is getting like private lending and whatever. But I figured that I'd be eligible for more than I am now.
So basically you're saying you got your score over 740 and you're wondering, why am I not getting loans? Why is the normal bank not giving me loans? Is that fair to say?
1, 2,
Yeah,
3.
I'm getting the same stuff
Tom.
they were offering me when my rating was like 500, 510.
Got
They're
you.
offering me the same stuff now.
1, 2,
So it
3.
seems like it means nothing.
We hear you, Tom.
Yeah.
So question, is this a valuable topic for everybody on the call right now? How to get your credit to be actually useful for you? How to leverage that credit? Excellent. So your credit score is only as valuable as you are. Now, what that means is your income level or your experience. So your credit score is only a factor, but without it, they will not lend. So you have to either have the income behind it, the assets behind it, or the knowledge on how to invest in those assets. So Matt, for somebody like you who's never owned rental property before, having a partner.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So the bank will look, well, how much did you own previously?
How many units?
Yeah.
Just one.
Okay, but it was a rental. So you can feasibly go and talk to a bank and maybe get a 3 to a 6 unit, and they'll say, okay, he's got some experience. Now, for somebody who has a 3 family, you can go and probably buy 18 to 20 units because they're going to say, yeah, you've got rental experience. So it's experience helps. It goes a long way. And then DTI is the other element. Matt, it sounds like you've been going to regular bankers.
Debt to income.
Debt to income. Yep. So you're going to normal traditional banks. They're going to look at DTI. If you're going through hard money, private money, DTI doesn't come into the equation. There's no LTV. There's no DTI. It's just how much do they like you and do they like the deal?
What's the DTI they look for? What's a healthy DTI?
So normal bank, they're looking at 1.2, 1.3, somewhere in between that range. They would like you to be around 1.25 if they're looking at 1.2. And if they're looking at 3, they like you to be around 1.3. So
I don't even know what that means. Is that a percentage?
It is a percentage. So it is, so say your debt on the property is, we'll say it's $10,000 a year. They want to see that you're earning 10,100, 10,200. That's 1.2%.
Oh, okay.
Right. So they want to make sure that your income is 20% higher than what that mortgage is going to cost you.
My documented monthly expenses, according to it, are 35% of what my income is.
And so, so it could be the property you're looking at. Are you talking about a normal pre-approval?
It wasn't property. I was just looking at doing things to continue building my credit, just taking out small loans, just to figure improve my credit even more. And it's just what they returned was insulting. There's no property right now, but part of it was testing to see what would happen, because if they're going to treat me like this now, I mean, I wouldn't even bother applying for a mortgage. I mean, honestly, I'm insulted. I'm the tiniest bit hurt. I mean, I've done a good job improving things, and they're still like, screw you.
Let's give Matt a round of applause. The middle finger to the credit companies. I'm with you, man. I get it. So here's the strategy, Matt. Do you have a car loan right now? Do you have a car?
I do.
Do you have a car loan?
I owe $6,500.
So you owe $6,500. That's actually building your credit right now. That is building your credit and making it more valuable. As far as the products that you're being offered, have you gone to Citibank?
No.
they're probably the best place to start. If you want to start building your credit, Citibank is extremely flexible. Don't go to Discover. Don't go to Amex. Don't go to Chase. These are the tough banks. Did you go to Chase, Matt?
Well, when I was building my credit, I accepted the high risk pool cards. So the ones that have like annual fees and high percentage rates where, well, I mean, it was the only option I had at the time. And that is exactly how I built up my credit. And I spoke to a credit advisor as well, who explained how all of it works.
Yeah.
So I used to think that, you're supposed to maintain a certain balance and whatever. You can, as long as you buy $1 a month and then pay it on time, that's all they care about is showing an on-time payment. And then as long as you keep it below 30%. So on a single card, a month or two ago, my credit utilization on that card went to 31%. And then I got a notification, and then they adjusted my maximum balance on other cards and dropped my credit rating by 4 points just for having 31% on a card. I'm like, well, why are you going to give that full amount if you're only supposed to use 30% of it? Then just give me 30% of it.
Matt, what company is
why
this?
Even do that? It was Shipbank. I have no idea. One of them was with Capital One. Yeah, so I'm with Capital One and Citi, and then I also have a PayPal credit line as well, and that's it. And then the car loan.
This one right here. Go with the Simplicity card. If you're looking to build your credit, go with the Citi Simplicity card. It is a no annual fee, no money, 0% interest. Start with the card. I think it's a 12-month or an 18-month, and it's a good card to start with to build your credit. Just don't use it for anything. Just go and get gas with it once a month and just pay it off, right? Every month.
Well, yeah, and that's what I've started doing.
Yeah, it's never go over the 30%. Yeah,
they want an on-time payment of any kind. They don't care how much it was. I mean, I didn't understand how this worked at first, so I was just using logic, and then you really can't use logic much in life at all. So, I had a reasonable income, and I was just charging a lot and paying it down. But it's they didn't care. I mean, there's a point I was putting like $5,000 a month down on some of these cards, but I would have a balance, and I'd run it up, and I'd lower, and I'd pay it, and I'd do it again. And they didn't care about any of that. They would rather me buy a candy bar for $1.50 and pay that on time than do anything to demonstrate your buying power.
Everybody's learning something right now, right? Credit cards are great for building credit.
Okay.
You want at least 3 of them. At least 3 credit cards. If you don't have 3, what are you doing? I've got 26. Don't do what I did, but they say 20.
I don't want that. Yeah, I don't want
right? They say 20 is actually a healthy amount of credit. It doesn't have to all be cards. It could be, a couple of houses, it could be a car loan, it could be student loans, it could be personal loans, but they say 20 lines of credit is a good sign that person is available. Go ahead, Melanie.
So if you go on Credit Strong, you can actually, it makes it look like you have an installment loan, but it's actually coming from your own bank account. So you actually build credit, and typically raises your credit about 50 to 100 points in a couple of months.
I like that. Give Melanie a round of applause. See, she says she doesn't want to be a coach, but she's got tons of knowledge.
What's this thing called?
Credit Strong.
Credit Strong. All right. I'll look it up.
Give Melanie a round of applause. Thank you, Mel. Awesome value add. And Matt, you got to play the rules you got to play the game by their rules. They want you to literally barely use the credit card. They want to see that you've got money in the bank. They want to see that you're paying all your debts. And if you want to really stack up real estate quickly, get your score up and get your experience up. If you don't have experience owning real estate, property manage for somebody. If you don't have experience property manage for somebody, go and find a partner who does, and be willing to cut out some of your profit on your first deal and get some experience. Then once you got experience, you're done, right? Once you've got that, go ahead.
Do they care what's in your bank account? Because I've had a high I mean, I had in the last
The
year, I
bank
had
does.
over 20 grand in a checking account, and it didn't mean anything to them.
For your credit score or for the bank?
No, well, for just applying for a card. I mean, my
Oh,
credit
no, it's not
rating
related
was
to cards.
higher, and
No, your
it doesn't
your
matter?
amount no, it doesn't matter. Your bank account doesn't matter for credit cards. Your bank account matters for
Okay.
property. Right? The bank wants to
Okay.
see if you're somewhat liquid.
Okay. All right. I'll keep that in
Awesome.
mind.
There you go, brother. One step at a time. One step at a time. You get
One
there.
giant, yes, one small step for man. All right. Thank you.
So where did
Let's
you
give
guys
Matt
come
a
up
round of
with the,
applause. Tom, were you got a question, Tom?
yeah, where did you come up with the cap rate? And it sounds like it is like a made up rate if it goes from 6 to 10%, depending on whether you're buying or selling.
I love that. So that is Commercial Rule 101. ABC's of Real Estate Investing by Ken McElroy. Buy at a 10, sell at a 6. That is industry standard for multifamily real estate investment, for commercial real estate investing. That is nationwide. Everybody buys at a 10, everybody sells at a 6. Now, hedge funds can buy at a 7 and sell at a 3. That's how hedge funds operate, right? They buy A-class property with 1% interest or no percent interest because they're not paying any lenders. Their money just comes from people who are invested in the fund. And for most investors, we're somewhere around 5 to 7% on our interest. Although right now, Ron and I are locking into a 5.1, which is the lowest interest I think we've ever been on as a commercial company. So pretty cool where the market is right now. And I know one person, my mentor, is in at a 4.5% on some of his properties, big commercial stuff. So it is possible to get lower interest rates, but it's going to take some experience before they trust you and get you down there. So Tom, 10% cap. I know it sounds arbitrary. I've bought buildings at a 24% cap. It's all in the situation. If you go and look at the numbers, it's like, wow, that was like off the charts cap rate, because we were based on just not fundamentals. We were just based on, hey, that's what the seller needed, right? It wasn't based on the actual cash flow of the building. Does that answer the question, Tom?
Well, what's the real number? I mean, everybody can say, you make up 10, I'm selling it, so it's going to be a 10. I'm going to buy it, it's going to be a 6. But what is it really? How do you figure out what it really is?
Welcome
Or
to
it
real
doesn't matter?
estate. It's whatever you want. It's whatever you're willing to pay for it. So real estate is negotiable. Everything is negotiable. If go ahead, Mel. Yeah.
I have a question. Could you use the calculator to your benefit and use it to submit your offer?
Always. Always.
I mean, I've never done it with like a 3-family, but I actually use like the profit and loss and all like the business calculator to submit offers on a business, and it worked. So.
Always. Give Melanie a round of applause. That is the number one negotiating strategy for a real estate investor, is we go in and we say, look, I only buy at a 10 cap. This building doesn't make sense at that price. This is the price that it's worth. It only makes sense to me at a 10 cap. And, I can't see paying any more than that. Look at the numbers, look at the NOI, look at the expenses. Now, when you go to sell it, obviously do as much value add as you possibly can, but just by increasing the rents, you're getting the value of that building up, right? Because the building is based on NOI. It's based on net operating income. Now, just because I am an investor who buys at 10 and 12 doesn't mean that there aren't investors that buy at 6 and 7. Who here knows the cap rate in Boston is somewhere around 5 right now, 5 and 6. Yeah, they'll buy at a 5 and 6 cap. So Tom, who do I sell to?
I guess a guy that wants a 3.
There you go. Give Tom a round of applause. It's all in your threshold. Like what, as you as an investor are willing to pay. You want to buy at a 10, sell at a 6. The
So
point
I never saw the in a calculator the percent of improvements. Does that play into the role of the final numbers?
So yes, so that's involved when you're doing big multifamilies, because you gotta look at how much that price is involving your improvement. So if you're going and saying, hey, it's making this right now, but I got to go spend 15% percent into renovating this thing to get its final price, that's part of your ROI. You're going to spend 15% to get it there.
Okay.
So the purchase price is going to be 85% of what you're going to go buy it at. Great questions. Who thinks Tom's asking some really good questions?
Jeez.
Tom, you're just asking the stuff that everybody wished they already knew. That's it.
Yeah, me too.
Ryan, what do you got?
Walter, buying at a 10 cap, are you doing that based off of the current rent roll or what the current rent roll could be?
Depends on if I'm selling or if I'm buying. So if I'm selling to you, Ryan. So yeah, when you're purchasing, never go off of pro forma. Pro forma is garbage. That's just marketing, right? You never pay attention to pro forma. Always look at actuals. Ask for the T12, right, Brett? That's it. Ask for the T12, get the trailing 12, find out what the actual expenses are, actual income, get the rent roll, and make sure rent roll is actual rent, not pro forma. Great question. Yeah. Pro forma is what we as brokers create so that you end up broker and so that we end up with a little extra money.
You know, that's what I always thought it was that, and I'm glad you're saying it and confirming that.
Bro, pro forma is just a marketing piece. It's like, hey, this could be like this. But as an investor, you're like, but it's this, right?
Right.
When we buy silver, when we invest in silver, has anybody ever bought silver at spot? Been able to actually buy it at spot price? Very hard to do. What do they sell it at? $1 over spot, $2 over spot. These Walking Liberties are $4 over spot, $4.50 over spot, right? But if you're smart and you go and you buy constitutional silver, they'll sell that at spot. And then if you go and you sell it online to a unsophisticated investor, somebody who just wants a shiny dime or a shiny $0.50, they'll pay $4 or $5 over spot. It's all about the sophistication of the investor, the type of money they have, how they're financing. If you're going hard money, your numbers have to be very different than if you're going with 3% interest. Does that make sense? I buy every deal I look at as if I was buying it with 12 and 2. And so then if I could buy it at 12 and 2, it's a killer deal at 5% with no points. This making sense? Valuable information? Awesome. What other questions we have? We're going to log out in just a second. Oh, Ryan McDermott. Awesome.
I had another question if nobody else does.
You're up, man.
And this is for either you or Brett or both. When you're analyzing, like I know I'm analyzing, probably 5 to 10 deals a week. And I use the same interest rate on basically all of them in the same payment terms. Should I be doing that, or should I be looking at it deal by deal, depending on what it is? What do you guys do?
I do. Love my job. I run the same all the time. I'm always, anytime I run a deal, I'm looking at 5% interest. I'm looking at 30-year mortgage. That is consistently what I'm looking at. I'm always looking at 12. Could it run at 12? If I can run at 12, I'm interested. Because if it can't run at 12, then now I'm really relying on the financing. Now I'm putting a lot on commercial lenders, asset-based lenders. Whereas if I can run it at 12 and I can hold it at 12, I can do pretty much any type of financing. I can raise capital on it real quick. And so I only go after big deals, and they have to be able to work at 12. And if they work better than that, then it's that's why my deals are so juicy. That's why when I talk about them, it's like, man, like, how'd you get that? I only pick a few. I only 1 or 2 a year. Doesn't have to be a lot. I just do them big enough. Give Ryan McDermott a round of applause. Great question, Ryan. Brett, what do you say? Same, similar?
I would say on a quick analysis, I would use the standard terms, but if I was really going into it, I might chat with my lender just to make sure that's accurate for that particular property. Usually is. And sometimes you can beat it. Sometimes you get seller financing. Sometimes you take on an existing mortgage. There's a lot of different plays where sometimes you can really go deeper than the worst case scenario. But if it works in worst case scenario, it only gets better as you move across the negotiating table. Sean, I saw you on mute. You got a question? Well, you're still muted. Now you're muted. Yeah. Still talking, but muted.
Thanks, guys. It was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely, Ryan. Of course, brother. All right, Sean, I can't hear you, but if you do have a question, shoot me a text. Can you hear me now? I can't hear you. How about now? Still muted.
How about now?
There you go.
All right, cool. Sorry, guys. Sorry. So I put in an offer on a triplex the other day, right? I ran 1% rule, because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I did the burr, kind of analyzed it in many different ways to really see what the best option was, right? So I ended up wanting to do a burr. I needed a little bit of help with money down, so I had a partner. So I ran it through Scaredy Cat, which is fantastic. I did my own numbers and everything like that, but then I ran it through Scaredy Cat. Great calculator, highly recommend it. Mitch, great guy. Everybody here is awesome. But so anyway, the partner. So at the end of the day, the calculator came back with very good numbers. It's CCR 15.98%. The cap was, I can't remember. I think it was like 6% or something like that. Anyway, really good numbers.
Wait, 6 cap's not good. 6 cap's good to sell at.
Right. So you're right. Sorry. I think it was 6. I can't remember offhand. I don't want to look it up. I don't waste your time.
Yeah,
but anyway, CCR was 15.98%. Why I remember that number, I don't know. But
cash on cash 15 is pretty good. That's pretty
good, right? I thought it was pretty good. So I ran the numbers the first time without viewing the property. The CCR was 26%. After viewing the property, there was a lot more rehab than initially thought. Just from pictures, it dropped down to 16%. I was going to make an offer on that. It was listed at 125. I was going to offer 98,750.
There you go.
Yeah. So my partner, which I thought was good. Cash flow was good. Everything was good. It was cash flowing $1,400 a month if I was going to rent it. So everything was good. Cash flow was good if I wanted to rent it. ARV was good if I wanted to sell it. Whatever. If I wanted to burr, refinance, everything was good.
Multiple exit strategies. Yep.
Multiple exit strategies. Right. So problems with it though. I have one tenant. There was a 3-level. One tenant was not paying rent. Has not paid since January.
Nice.
Other tenant stopped paying 2 months ago.
So I can go lower on the price then.
What's that?
Go lower on the price. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what happened, right? So after viewing it, after getting backstory from the seller and everything like that, I brought my offer from 98,750 to 60,000 cash, but I changed the terms, right? So I offered him cash and 2-week closing and $8,000 cash for keys.
Nice. Let's give Sean a round of applause. Playing hardball. I can see all my D's are smiling. They're like, yeah, that's what you do. Get them while they're low.
Where's that deal?
So in
Connecticut
was the kid was starting his own business, and mommy was footing the bill. So they were done. They divorced. They all moved out. One unit was not even habited at all. Could have moved somebody in right away. But the problem was, other than the tenants, my partner, he didn't want to commit to it.
Get a new partner.
Yeah. So he gave me what his thoughts were. We sat down, we ran numbers, we sat down with the lender and everything like that. They told me where they were comfortable. I put their offer in. And I kicking myself in the butt kind of, because I think it was still, I should have just trusted my own numbers, which I did. But I think I got between the tenants and my partner, it messed up my own mindset.
Hey, on to the next show. No big deal.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys had any, any kind of tips or tricks or anything for me on that one.
Keep going, man.
Did I go too low, like 98 to 60? I mean, that's a big difference. I don't know.
Here's what I say to every buyer. Everybody who's an investor who's looking to buy real estate is, what's the price you're willing to pay and you'd feel okay with it, right? What's the highest price you'd be able to pay and walk away, knowing that, okay, if I don't get the deal, I put in the price that it made sense at. Anything lower than that, if you're okay with losing it, put that price in. If you're okay with like, hey, I don't care if I close this deal, put the 60 in, right? Okay. If this deal doesn't make or break you, put the 60 in. But if you need to get a flip done this year, then put in the price that you're willing to pay the max price you want to pay to make sure that that numbers still work for you.
Yeah.
So it's a point of pressure, right? The reason I can make such low offers and I buy things so cheap is I don't need to close anything. I just put my number in and I'm very happy with it, whether I get it or not. Does that make sense? I'm in a position of, I don't give a shit if we close or not. Like, doesn't make or break my day. I don't need this deal. Now, when I do close, I'm excited. I'm very happy. When I close, it's a very good day. And I brag about it for all year long because it's the only deal I did. And then next year I get to do it again.
Right.
So Sean, just keep pushing, man. Make your money in other ways. You know, when you don't need real estate money, it makes it really easy to be a great real estate investor. When you don't need the money, when you're hustling something else, or, you know, you're a real estate agent or you're a wholesaler, or wholesaling's tough. But if you're a real estate agent and you're bringing money in, or you're flipping real estate, so you don't really need the rentals, or you got a bunch of rentals, so you don't need the flips, like that helps a lot. And if you own a business or you're working a 9-to-5, you don't get, like, if you're Ryan McDermott, like, you could just go a whole year and not close on anything. And it's like, well, I'm waiting for the perfect deal. Like, what do you want from me? It's no, we got to push you a little harder, Ryan. It's time to close with something. I think you're just analysis paralysis at this point. Come on, man. Ryan, I got a new coaching program. I'm ready to take you in. You ready to go do this?
Is this going to be the Ryan McDermott get off your ass coaching program? Is that what it's called?
That's actually what we're calling it. It's super expensive, only affordable by one person. And I only accept it in Ryan McDermott points. So you're going to have to pay up, bro.
So the cap rate was 12%.
What is it?
I'm going to create my own Bitcoin and I'll give you some of that.
That's it, brother. I'm ready. Sean, was that a helpful answer?
The cap rate on that property I was just saying was 12% with a CCR of 16%.
That's the sort of deal I do, bro. Hell yeah.
Right?
All day.
Dude, that was fire, wasn't it?
Yeah. Why is it not close? Why are you not closing on that? How do we go back and get that?
Well, because I needed help with money down, bro. Because it's my first one so I needed 20%.
How much is 20% on $90,000? You're talking about 18 grand. How much would you pay me if I went on that deal? Would you 50%?
What would I give you?
Yeah. Go halvesies.
It's here you go. Put me on the spot for everybody.
Hell yeah.
I love it.
Hey, you know what, Sean? It's good practice. Good practice. Go talk to your wife.
I'll do a deal with you any day, anytime, any place, bro. Any numbers.
Give Sean a round of applause. That's smart, man. That's smart.
You know what I did? I moved right on, and I got 2 offers to put in this week. One property, and then another multi. You know,
awesome.
I definitely wasn't discouraged, but I'm like, I'm kind of upset because I thought the deal was fire, man. I got it all right here.
Yeah, you were right. The deal is fire. You just for some reason are not going back and getting it.
What the hell was I doing, bro? I should have called you.
Yeah, text me.
Text you. That's right. You don't answer phone calls.
I love it. Let's give Sean a round of applause. Sean, seriously, if you can, go lock it back down. If it's not gone yet, lock it down. Put it under agreement. Okay. Put $100 down and then raise the capital. You know, worst case scenario, we find somebody who's got 20 grand who wants to invest with you, and you're paying them 12% interest, right? Okay. Easy money. Or, phenomenal scenario.
You know my position. I own a contracting company, so like sweat equity is no big deal for me.
That's why I offered it to you. I don't offer that to everybody. Yeah. Right. So you're an easy win for me. You're somebody I know who can get the work done.
Cool, man. I appreciate it.
You got it, Sean.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Wonderful week. Great questions all around. Great training. Let's give Brett Reed a round of applause. Phenomenal training, Brett. Thank you so much for your beautiful PowerPoints. I am tomorrow night. I am offering up 10% of South Coast Capital Investments. I will be giving that conversation and explaining how and why we raise capital the way that we do. If you're interested in raising capital the way that we do, you want to show up to the call as a student, just as somebody looking to learn. If you are interested in investing in a multi-million-dollar company and you'd like to own some piece of that 10%, show up tomorrow as a way to invest. We are not accepting money tomorrow, so there is no pressure on it. We will not be accepting money probably till January or February. We're still working on the documents with our attorney, Mike Shine, who's not on the call right now, but he will be there tomorrow. And if you are interested in investing with us learning about the future, we're learning where we're going and why we evaluate the company the way we do and how we see ourselves 10 years from now, then tomorrow is a great call for you to be on. I don't know if Darina's on here with the link, but it's at 6 p.m. If you haven't seen the link from Darina, shoot me a message on either Facebook or shoot me a text, and I'll make sure I get you the link. Is that valuable? Something you want to be on? Yeah.
Sure.
It's a very cool call. It's what we call IPO before the IPO. It's the initial private offering. Initial public offering is before it goes on the stock market. Initial private offering is before it goes to being before the stock market. Does that make sense? This is where the best deals are formed. And when I talked to Ron, I saw, man, like the way we're evaluating this company, it feels like we're losing a lot of money. And he was like, yeah, I don't think we should do it. And I was like, well, if we ever want to go real estate investment trust, if we want to go and get the tax benefits of a trust, we can't own more than 50% of the company. We have to sell at least 50% of the company. And so it doesn't make sense to do a fire sale all in 1 year and try to make it work. It makes more sense to sell pieces over time, over the next 10 years. Does that make sense? And the goal is to be like Tesla. We'll sell 10% this year, then maybe 5% the year after, and then 5% the year after, and 5% the year after. And so we can reduce back how much we're selling each year because the dollar amount goes up as the company continues to double every year. If all we do is what I've done. But if we increase what we're able to do, which extra infusion of cash and a little debt pay down will allow us to do, we should be able to do more than double each year. Does that make sense? And that's the ultimate reason for opening the company up is I am not going to go do more than one deal a year. I'm just going to do bigger deals every year. And in order to do that, I got to simplify my life, which means invest with people I like and stop paying interest to private money investors, to which I love paying. And I've paid faithfully for years, hard money, private money. But I think we're at the point where in order to take it on big deals, it doesn't make sense to have $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 mortgages every month. We agree? Yeah. Yeah. So awesome. I will see you all tomorrow. Cheers to your success. If you have any questions, me, Brett, Ryan, we're all available anytime. Feel free to ask. Elizabeth is running Monday's call for the Wholesale Mastermind. This Saturday, I'll be talking about the 52 wealth principles, wealth principle 47, which I should have the website up, and I don't have it up at the moment. So wealth principle 47. If you have never been to the website, I will show you how to find it. You go to the calculator that's not currently working, and then you go over to education, 52 millionaire wealth principles, scroll down to wealth principle 47, which is the law of hyper focus. Who's read The One Thing, the book, The One Thing? Who's read this one before? Oh, excellent. You're going to love this. Yeah, Dave, good job, man. This Saturday, I'm talking about hyper focus. This is how you get rich. If you do one thing, you focus on one thing and you go intensely focused in that one direction for a year, 2, 3 years, you can be extremely rich. Extremely rich. One thing. Tom's got the book right there. Good job, Tom. Give Tom a round of applause. Awesome. Hyper focus is this Saturday's lesson. Ironically, I back-to-backed it with Simplify Your Life last week. The only way to hyper focus is you got to have a simplified life. If your life is cleaned up, keep working on it this week. If you haven't cleaned up all your stuff, get rid of all your garbage. Saturday, we're focusing, which means there's no extra space. We got to go all in on one thing so we can build that $1 million portfolio, or for some of you, pentamillion. For some of you, decamillion. We're getting past our million status, yes? Awesome. Tom, catch up to us, bro. Come on.
Come on, hey. How about 2 nickels to rub together?
I'll give you 2 silver ounces. You want that?
Yeah, I'll take that. Better than 2 nickels.
No, it's way better than 2 nickels. Let's get it, guys. We're a team. Everybody here is looking to get to the next level. Some of you are wholesalers. Some of you are agents. Some of you are brokers. Some of you are investors. Some of you are teachers. Some of you are still learning. Some of you are lenders. Some of you are just looking to invest your time for somebody who's a little bit ahead of you. Some of you are looking for a partner. Some of you are financial advisors, Subway owners, looking to sell your franchises, looking to buy some franchises. Every single one of you on here has a way to make money, whether or not you have figured it out yet. That doesn't matter. The fact that it's out there means that you need to be hunting for it. And if you figured it out, now it's time to scale it. This week, we're going to talk about hyper focus. I'm hyper focused on 100 millionaires. That's why you'll see 100 millionaires rocking the shirts in 2021. Who agrees that I will accomplish this goal. It's a small goal for me. Who agrees that they're going to be one of them? Who knows they're going to be one of the people who's a millionaire in 2021? Let's give everybody a round of applause. I appreciate your commitment to your success. And for everybody who's getting to the next level, thank you. You make this a lot more fun for me. Enjoy the rest of your night. Cheers to success when you have a choice. Always work with the best. Thank you again, Brett. And thank you, Melanie, for your answers. Dave, for your questions. Will, for hanging out with me today. Sue, for rescheduling me. I appreciate you. Thank you. Elizabeth, for everything you do. Good night, guys. Clint, thanks for hanging out with us. 2 calls in a row, bro. Very cool. And great questions, Ryan. You always make it better. Angelica, go spend some time with the family. Book your husband some appointments this week, all right? Excellent. Keep it going. Sean, great job on that property, man. Awesome. Lock them down. Dave, I enjoyed the call with you today, brother. Awesome, awesome job. You are dedicated. Appreciate you. Don, Ashley, Herlina, Olivia, Rick, Carol, Ron, Horace, Rodriguez, Kevin, Peter. Man, everybody's jumping now. Awesome. Enjoy the rest of your night. Sean, do you have another question as we jump out of here?
Yeah, I was just going to see if you had some time. I can't right now, but maybe in a little bit if I can reach out to you.
Shoot me a text, man. No calls, but text me. I'll be available all night. Hell yeah.
All right. Cool. Thanks, man.
Awesome. You're
Have a
very
good
welcome.
Night. Later.
Be good. Later, Sue. Bye, Ashley. Bye, Don. Bye, Dave. My man. Later.